Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Logon to CyberSecurity, where we talk about the latest cybersecurity trends and methods to protect organizations from various attacks. And today we're going to take a deep dive into brand impersonation scams. And this is something that we see happening all the time. And if you have ever received emails from Google, Amazon, or other big companies that you think looks fake, then that means you have received a scam. And ignoring the scams have severe consequences. So today we have Luigi Lenguito, the founder of Bfore.AI, to sit down with us today to discuss these threats and show us ways to prevent brand attacks in the future. Welcome, Luigi.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for having us on this podcast.
Thank you for joining us today. So I have seen that Bfore.AI has talked a lot about brand impersonation in your blog. So can you start off by sharing what are the common brand impersonation threats, and if you could share some recent examples to our listeners?
Sure. So I think first of all, probably the audience does not realize that while we hear every day about ransomware and malware and viruses, the number one cause of losses to organization worldwide, and it's the same in every region, are business email compromise. So this is where somebody has impersonated an executive or a team member and trick somebody else in the organization to do wire transfers or commit fraud or things like that. So at the base of this type of threat, there is impersonation of the brand, because most of these messages will come through an email with a forged domain, for example, or with content that is a lookalike to the original brand to try and trick the eye, right? And so, to your point, we talk often on our blogs about this type of risks because it's the most widespread, the most impactful, the one where people think that they have the eye to spot, but the reality is not the case. They'll be triggered because the criminal, are focusing on that. And so we help our customer to basically detect and stop those scams before they make any harm.
Thank you for those examples. And yeah, thank you for also helping your customers to prevent these. So could you share, without the right solutions to protect our system, how will companies be affected by these attacks? Because I think we shared the severe consequences, but I don't think people know what the consequences would be.
Yeah, sure. So there are obviously, we need to first distinguish, I would say, if this is a large corporation, a medium to small size company, or individuals, right? So if we start from the corporation standpoint, the corporation really want to do two things. One is avoiding to become victim. And here, generally, they get attacked by impersonation of their suppliers. So it's called from some third-party risk management, where you try and reduce the exposure that your partners generate on you. And so, a way to implement that type of protection is to implement threat intelligence in your system, like anti-phishing filters and firewalls. So threat intelligence would provide, foresight in terms of where the risk is coming from, especially if you use, of course, predictive intelligence like Bfore.AI. And then at that point, your anti-phishing filter, your firewall will filter this traffic that comes from, fake sources and avoid anybody to be scammed. At the same time, the corporation may be victim of brand impersonation themselves, right? So if they are in retail, for example, they have brands, or even if they work with B2B and they are in large deals, their brand, their name can be impersonated to scam somebody else. This is where our pre-crime brand, for example, get used often by customers like Signify or Volkswagen. These customers, where what they wanted to do is to ensure that if somebody impersonate their brand, number one, they know about it so that they can, get, informed and act on it. And two, to remediate it. And how you remediate it, generally, what happen is a procedure called the takedown. So takedown is going after the registrar of the domain or the infrastructure provider like web hoster and mail hosters and get that infrastructure disabled. Now, this is something that may be relatively quick, sometime hours to minutes, but unfortunately, most of the time takes very, very long because you have to collect proofs, you have to prepare, information for those organizations to acknowledge that there is a problem, and then there may be some of those organizations that are not very collaborative and may take months, right? If the domain was registered in Russia or in Iran or something like that. So what we do is we provide a service called the Active Defense to our customer, where we work with partners like VirusTotal, Online DNS, some of the most common browser, to block access to those malicious infrastructure, even before the malicious infrastructure has been disabled, and certainly before there is an attack. For medium-sized companies, the risk is really about being victims. It's really about, some of their employees being tricked to do a wire transfer to a different bank account, while thinking that they're paying a supplier. And again, here, both solution applies, either trying to focusing on protecting the network and the inbound traffic with the likes of threat intelligence and other solutions that are based on preventive approach, or trying to be informed about the attack that may come from your supplier, so more third-party risk management. And again, here the brand protection solution we offer can fit in the space. For individual, that's where the most challenge happen, right? Individual don't necessarily have sophisticated security measures. So my recommendation would be first to adopt a protective DNS, like Code9, for example. So Code9.net is a free resolvers that provide filtering against malicious activities. Code9 use about 18 different threat intelligence feed, among others, Bfore.AI. So the Bfore.AI pre-crime contributes to make Code9 more secure. And that way you have a free but very comprehensive solution. Of course, doesn't fix everything, but it's a good start. And then the next is to, and I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, pay attention to little nudges that may tell you that this is a scam. If the opportunity that in the message is too good to be true, then probably it is too good to be true, right? If the message include urgency, a sense of trying to get you to do some action in a rush, most probably it's a scam as well. And then, of course, but unfortunately, this is going to disappear very soon. The usual typo, as usual, these scammers write from other languages, and so the grammar may not be very correct that you receive. But as we know nowadays with AI and the likes of ChatGPT, criminals are going to have a much better tool for writing scam emails. So I would not count on just the ability to identify typos or strange frames in the message. More sense of urgency or offer that is too good to be true, but definitely adopt the solution like Code9 that's a more systemic and less, so that even at 3 a.m., if you're very tired, you're still someone that is looking after your network traffic and you don't have to count on yourself.
Thank you for the very detailed explanation for everything, like in different levels for individuals, mid-size, and large organizations. And I think, yeah, the impacts of it, I would say mostly it will be the reputation of the company and also the person who gets the scam. How would you know if it's really coming from a big company? Because opportunities like this, it's hard to identify what it is. And especially what you've mentioned with ChatGPT and all these AI tools getting more popular, it might get harder and harder to recognize these scams. And there around 2 months ago, India had a similar attack that we were all following up in Logon. That nearly 40 million of the health records from the India Institute of Medical Sciences were compromised from their servers, and it took them more than 2 weeks to bring the system back online. So, like you said, it takes longer time to get over with these scams, to repair everything that was damaged. So besides before AI's solutions or like pre-crime, is there any advice that you could give companies to prevent these brand attacks in the future, especially with all the technology getting
Definitely, yeah. So I would say that number one, you know, hygiene in DNS management is very important. So DNS is the system that holds domain names. Every company has one or more domain names, and securing their own domain names, it's relatively straightforward, but it's also the thing that generally is not done very well. So I think, first opportunity for anyone owning one or more domain name is to make sure to secure them, because of course, if you have a scam coming from one of the domain name you own, it's gonna look like much more credible and trick even more the potential victims, right? So first, don't make the life of the criminal very easy, right?
Mhm.
Number two, many register what are called protective domain names. So these are domain names that look alike their ones, and they register to avoid that the criminals would register it themselves and then use it for scam. Unfortunately, those secondary domain names get very easily forgotten and not maintained. So same thing I said earlier, make sure to secure your assets first and foremost. Uh, you know, the likelihood of those domains being not very well configured is extremely high nowadays, and that may be an easy target for criminals to take control of it and then use it for their own interest. And then, definitely, I would say providing a way, so how to say, do not create confusion in your customer, right? So sometimes we see organization like postal office or banks using all sorts of different domain names, right? Some, for specific marketing action, or some for a specific login in a particular feature of their website. If you have multiple domain names that you use with your customer, you are creating confusion in their head. So it's easier that they will be scammed later when another domain name will show up, because they're not being used to focus on only one. The most uh, safe organization actually have gone to the extent of taking ownership of an extension, right? So the dot up and after the dot having the name of their company. This way, they can control the naming structure. So, this would be for me kind of the 101, right? So basics. Unfortunately, after that, it becomes, as they say, your mileage may vary. So it depends really on what are the risks specific to the company. The company has to prioritize, are they protecting themselves? Are they protecting their supplier? Are they protecting their customers? That's where, having the relationship with the provider like Logon come to use, because you can help them and recommend them the right solution for the different risks that they have to manage. And maybe some risks are more, let's say, likely to happen or more dangerous. So they need to be managed first. And so you can have, more progressive type of approach.
Mm. Well, thank you for those advices. So, just to give a quick addition to what Before AI does to our listeners. So, Luigi and everyone in his team has done amazing work on building a strong predictive cybersecurity intelligence that helped many network security teams in Asia, especially our clients, to anticipate attacks with effective prevention methods. So, before we end today's episode, can you share what are before AI's future plans, and if you have any offers that you have for corporate clients for today?
Sure. So, as you said earlier, the landscape of risk of cybercrime is evolving very fast, right? Especially with the arrival of generative AI. So, few products that are coming down the line for us. So, first, we are very successful in the banking sector. Banks are unfortunately the number one target for this type of brand impersonation.
Yeah.
And so we are developing the product to help them as well with credit card frauds, to identify credit cards that would be used for fraudulent activity before even the first transaction is made. Um, Under the same kind of line of thought, we're now seeing an emergence of deepfake video and deepfake audio. So as the usage of conferencing calls and conferencing videos, video conferences is developed, criminals are starting to adopt tools that will impersonate you in video and in audio and generate even more, a trick to the brain to have you fall into trusting them. And so we are working on developing solution for identifying those fake video, fake audio through video conferencing solution. But I would say, aside the next roadmap, we're really into making sure that our current solutions that continue to stay fit for the purpose. As you said, we are the first one to provide predictive technology. One of the challenge when you do this type of capability is that internet keep growing. Internet grows at about 5% every month. That means it's a compounding growth. So criminals, as you might imagine, hide themselves in the growth area because they are the one that maybe we don't see yet. And so we are continually investing in increasing our visibility so that our predictive models can observe all the possible behaviors to be scored. And of course, to continue give our best service in terms of false positive. That is, one of our, most proud capabilities, right? The fact that we provide 99 to 95% reliability of our prediction. That means that people don't have to waste time on false alert, and that also require a lot of continuous research and development.
Yes, I think your predictive technology is very interesting. And I think a lot of people will be very interested in it, especially this is something that prevents the attack from happening so they can avoid any kind of consequences from any attacks that happen in future. But yeah, so I think people need to be more aware of how technology is getting more advanced, especially with all these AI tools that we keep seeing from the news, that you just had to stay ahead of technology. Just get prepared for everything and have
Absolutely.
with
We,
the
we
voice.
are already in an era of blue AI against red AI. And
Mhm.
so, we hope to be kind of staying one step ahead. And that's definitely our mission, to stay one step ahead of the bad guys and make their lives miserable. And, thanks for giving us a way to educate as well and share what we are doing, because to your point, I think there is a need for awareness of these new solutions that enable people to be more protected and organization to be less victim of these attacks.
Yes, that's great. Thank you, Luigi, for joining us today and sharing so many insightful tips for preventing brand attacks and also your predictive technology. And to all our listeners, if you're interested to today's topic and would like to know more about Before AI solution, do go to our website to get more information. Thank you everyone for listening today. I will see you all at the next one. Bye.
Thank you, Lisa. Bye. Bye, everybody, audience.